Watching Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame speech last week has inspired me to break down the top 5 NBA speeches of all time, their signature moments, and a key takeaway that you can apply to speak like an authentic leader yourself. And let me know in the comments what you think of the list. Number 5 goes to Dwayne Wade.
I started this off thanking you, and I want to end it the same way. The hard work I put in was because I didn't want to let you down. Those countless hours in the backyard, those days that turned into late nights of me working on my left hand so it was just as good as my right, it made me an unstoppable force. That time you got kicked out of the game as my coach and snuck back in the side door and coached me from the stands just to get kicked out again, it showed me that there was no limitations on how you would show up for me.
Pay close attention to how Dwayne is saying these words in order to captivate his audience. He's using what I call the chopper technique. This is when you break up longer sentences into shorter chunks separated by noticeable pauses. It's particularly helpful if you're feeling nervous and tend to trip up over your words because you're speaking too fast. And here's the signature moment.
To know we hustled all the way to the Basketball Hall of Fame is God's will. So Pops, I know your knees are a little sore, but will you join me on stage as we take our rightful step into basketball heaven?
He locks eye contact with his father. When you're doing this, you're actually increasing your audience's attention because you're signaling for them to focus on your exchange with your ally. He also asks his father to stand. This is a technique that I think is underutilized in most speeches, but it accomplishes 2 things. One is that it implicitly reinforces your credibility on stage. And 2, it's literally the best way to give someone special recognition because you're having them literally stand out relative to the rest of the audience. And number 4 on my list goes to Yao Ming.
When I heard that I would be the first speaker tonight, I think maybe somebody made a mistake. Don't laugh, because I think this spot belonged to great Allen Iverson. You know why? Because I need more practice than him.
Now, I personally find this speech so remarkable because Yao went from literally a rookie who spoke 0 English into a Hall of Famer speaking amazing English despite it being his second language in front of hundreds of people on stage. And for non-native English speakers, I know that it can be absolutely terrifying when you have to speak in public. So what Yao does brilliantly to calm his nerves is he delivers the killer intro. The key to remember with any speech is that your audience's attention is naturally highest at the beginning and the end of your speech. It tends to dip in the middle. So Yao gets his audience to react and stay engaged at the very beginning with a playful rib. This is where you poke fun at someone in the crowd in a way that you know they would never find offensive. And since Allen Iverson's practice rant was decades ago, it's pretty clear that AI is gonna take this as a joke, particularly because Yao's smiling as he says it. And speaking of making people laugh, my number 3 is arguably the best comedian of everyone on this list. Number 3 goes to Shaquille O'Neal.
Phil always made us meditate in a room filled with sage. Scotty knows what I'm talking about. Now, I don't know what sage is, but I know what it smells like. So one day I'm sitting in a room, me, GP, and Kobe. I've never been high before, but if this is high, I think I was it. So I'm sitting there and finally I have a conversation with Phil. I said, Phil, come on now. And Phil says, it's not, it's the cousin of cannabis. So I said, okay, Phil, whatever that means. So starting today, Phil and I will be opening medicinal sage dispensaries all across the U.S.
Now, the reason why Shaq's story is so epic is because he's using strategic body language. First, notice how he acts out the punchline. Instead of saying the punchline with your words, you're basically reenacting the punchline with your body. Second, notice how Shaq reenacts different people in the story. For example, the actual facial expression he had when he felt high, the dialogue, even the punchline at the end cueing people to laugh. And his speech was so good that I had to include a second clip.
Kobe Bryant, a guy that would push me and help me win 3 titles in a row. It also helped me get pushed off the team and traded to Miami.
This is hilarious because Shaq's using the fake out method. This is where you let your audience think that you're gonna say one thing, like Shaq giving Kobe his flowers, but actually do a playful rib instead. Number 2 goes to the GOAT himself, Michael Jordan.
When I first met Brian Russell in Chicago in 1994, I was working out for baseball, and at this time I had no thoughts of coming back and playing a game of basketball. And Brian Russell came over to me and said, "You know what, man, why'd you quit? Why'd you quit? You know I can guard you. If I ever see you in a pair of shorts, you remember this, John?" And when I did decide to come back in 1995, and then we played Utah in 96, I'm at the center circle, and Brian Russell sitting next to me, and I look over to Brian. I said, "You remember this conversation you made in 1994 about, I think I can guard you, I can shut you down, and I would love to play against you? Well, you about to get your chance." And believe me, ever since that day, he got his chance. And from this day forward, if I ever see him in shorts, I'm coming at him.
MJ is using the teleport tactic, where you narrate the story so well that you make your audience feel like they're actually there reliving that moment with you. You can actually be like Mike by 1, reenacting dialogue, 2, speaking in present tense, and 3, using vivid specific details. But I'd say most importantly, the key question that you need to ask yourself when you're delivering any speech is this: what's the one thing that you want people to remember you by? And you can orient your speech entirely around this feeling. And that's exactly what MJ does during his 25-minute speech. He wants to be remembered as a fierce competitor, so he thanks his enemies more than even his supporters and teammates. And number 1 on my list goes to Kevin Durant for his memorable MVP speech in 2014.
One of the best memories I had is when we moved into our first apartment. No bed, no furniture, and we just all sat in the living room and just hugged each other. Because we made it.
Again, you can see the teleport tactic in action here, where you're actually reliving the moment that you're describing to your audience. And as you can see, it's because of this that KD doesn't even need a script. That's what I always encourage my students to do, to speak from the heart as much as possible to sound authentic.
We wasn't supposed to be here. You made us believe. You kept us off the street, put clothes on our backs, food on the table. When you didn't eat, you made sure we ate. You went to sleep hungry. You sacrificed for us. You the real MVP.
But the real reason why I put KD's speech at the very top is because he does something that I really rarely see in public speaking. He uses the one-liner. What is that one line that encapsulates the climax of your speech? Make sure to end your speech with this one-liner, because remember, your audience's attention is highest at the beginning and the end, and many years after you deliver this speech, people are gonna remember those particular moments. And for KD, his one-liner is, "You the real MVP." It's not about KD winning the MVP award, but rather his mother, Wanda Durant, who deserves all the credit for KD's success. That's what KD wants everyone to remember. So what do you think of my top 5? Who would you include? Who would you take out? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, make sure to check out one of my more popular videos, which is this breakdown of Colorado head coach Deion Sanders delivering an intro speech to his team. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.